It is 2 o'clock in the morning. The room is dark except for one rectangle of cold blue light pressed against a face you would recognize. Maybe it is your face. This person made a promise last week. A real one, the kind made in the quiet after the thing was done, when the shame was still fresh enough to feel like resolve. They said last time was the last time, and here they are again, reaching for it. Here is what we tell ourselves about addiction. We picture someone else. We picture a needle in an alley, a man who lost his job and then his family and then his address. We picture the person whose life became unrecognizable from the outside. We never picture the worship leader. We never picture the small group facilitator. We never picture the version of ourselves that quietly reached for the same thing again last night and called it nothing, called it stress relief, called it deserved. But there is something you need to understand before this is over. The thing you keep going back to has a plan for you. It is patient. It is not waiting for you to fall apart visibly. It is content to work slowly, in the dark, in the private moments, reshaping you from the inside while your outside life stays presentable. And the 7 things we are about to walk through are not categories of other people's failures. They are the 7 most common ways a human soul gets quietly hollowed out while telling itself it is still in control. One of these is going to feel like it was written about you specifically. That is not a coincidence. Lust does not announce itself as destruction. It shows up as relief. It shows up as the one thing that makes the noise in your head go quiet for a few minutes, and that is precisely what makes it so effective at its actual job. Picture the phone face down on the nightstand at midnight, then turned back over. That single gesture, that small reversal of a small decision, is the whole story. Because it was never about the image or the video or the person on the other side of the screen. It was about the moment the appetite got louder than the conviction, and the appetite won again. Here is what lust is secretly doing while you think you are simply indulging a weakness. It is training your brain to consume people instead of love them. Every time you reduce a human being to a function, to a feeling, to a momentary use, you are rewiring the neural architecture of intimacy itself. Researchers studying pornography's effect on the brain have found that habitual use physically alters the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for impulse control and long-term decision-making. You are not just watching something, you are editing yourself. And here is the mirror most people refuse to look into. This is not the man you would never trust your daughter with. This is the man she calls dad. This is not the stranger you shake your head at. This is you, teaching your own heart, one private click at a time, that no real person will ever be enough. Because real people do not perform. Real people need. Real people age and argue and disappoint. And if your baseline for intimacy has been calibrated to fantasy, real love starts to feel like settling. You have been teaching your own heart that no person is ever enough, one private click at a time. But here is the truth that lust never tells you. The same body that was broken on a cross walked out of a tomb fully intact. Resurrection is physical. It is material. It is the declaration that flesh itself is not your enemy, that the body was made for something sacred, and that what your appetite has torn apart can be rebuilt. Not repaired, rebuilt. That is not a metaphor. That is a promise from a God who specializes in restoring what shame said was too far gone. Greed is harder to catch because it wears the face of responsibility. You are not being greedy. You are being wise. You are being a good steward. You are simply making sure your family is protected. And so you refresh the bank balance for the 3rd time in an hour, not because you need to, but because the number still does not feel like enough. The line for enough keeps moving. It has been moving your whole life. You hit the goal and discovered a new anxiety waiting on the other side of it. Before you hand this one to somebody messier than you, stop. Greed is not the billionaire on the news. Greed is you recalculating whether you can afford to be generous. Greed is the internal negotiation that happens when the offering plate comes around, when the friend needs help, when the cause is real but the cost feels personal. Greed is the whisper that says almost, just a little more and then you will give. You will rest. You will be free. You keep building a wall of money against a fear that money was never designed to touch. Because what is underneath the accumulation is not ambition, it is terror. The terror that God will not catch you if you let go. The terror that provision is something you have to manufacture yourself because you cannot quite trust that it will come. And every dollar hoarded in that fear is a vote of no confidence in the God who said he clothes the grass of the field. The one who owned heaven emptied himself to the point of death. His open hands on that cross were not weakness. They were the proof that you were already provided for. Greed closes the fist. The gospel opens it. Anger feels like the most justified of all the addictions, which is what makes it the most dangerous. You are driving, and the argument is playing again in your head. You are sharpening the line you wish you had said. You are getting better at the fight in retrospect, winning it in the rehearsal, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you know you have been doing this for 9 days straight. The other person has moved on. You have not let them. Do not picture the man who threw the chair. Picture yourself rehearsing the grudge. Picture the way the offense gets polished every time you return to it. The way the other person gets slightly worse in your memory each time you replay the scene. Anger is the only addiction that makes its own supply. You do not need the other person to keep feeding it. You can sustain it entirely on imagination. And here is what it is secretly doing. It is eating you, not them, you. The cortisol flooding your body during every mental rehearsal does not know the difference between the real argument and the imagined one. Your nervous system is living in a conflict that ended days ago. Your blood pressure, your sleep, your capacity for joy, all of it is being taxed to fund a war that exists only inside you. The prison is one you built brick by brick, and the only prisoner inside it is you. Jesus walked back into the room where his friends had locked themselves in fear after they abandoned him, and his first words were not a reckoning. They were, "Peace be with you." That same peace can walk into the room you have kept locked with a grudge. But you have to be willing to stop rehearsing long enough to hear it. Gluttony is the sin nobody preaches about because too many people in the pulpit share it. It is not about food, though food is often the vehicle. It is about the moment at the open fridge at night, not hungry, still reaching. It is about the third episode when you said one. It is about the purchase you did not need, and the drink you did not stop at, and the comfort you kept consuming past the point of comfort, because the thing underneath was not physical hunger at all. Stay in this one longer than your reflex wants to. Because what you are feeding is a hole, and the hole has a shape. It is exactly the shape of the presence of God, which means nothing else will ever fit it correctly. Not food, not entertainment, not substances, not the next thing. Every attempt to fill it with something other than what it was made for leaves you emptier than before, and the emptiness drives you back to the thing that failed you last time, and the cycle continues. You keep pouring fullness into a soul that was built to be satisfied by God alone, and it stays empty every time. The risen Christ did not appear to his disciples with a theological lecture. He cooked them breakfast on a shore. He fed them. He knew they were tired and ashamed and hungry, and he made them a meal. He is still the only table that leaves a soul actually full. Everything else is just eating while you are starving. Envy moves at the speed of a thumb. You are scrolling and the thumb stops. The smile drops before you decide to let it drop. The math starts automatically. Their house against yours, their marriage against yours, their calling against yours, and within seconds you have constructed an entire case for why your life is the lesser one. You did not choose to do this. It happened, but you stayed in it. That part was a choice. What envy is secretly doing is turning every gift God gave someone else into an accusation against you. Every beautiful thing you see in another person's life becomes evidence that God plays favorites, that the distribution is unfair, that you were somehow overlooked. And you never say that out loud because it sounds too raw, too petty. So instead, you just feel it. You feel the weight of it every time you open the app. You have been calling God unfair in a language quiet enough that you never had to hear yourself say it. Here is what the empty tomb answers. There is more than enough life to go around. The resurrection was not a limited resource. Nothing given to another was ever subtracted from you. The abundance of God is not a pie with finite slices. It is a table that keeps expanding. Envy is the lie that someone else's portion threatens yours. The gospel is the truth that there is no scarcity in the kingdom. Pride is the one you are least likely to assign to yourself, which is the tell. You are crafting the apology. It is a careful one. It acknowledges that things got heated, that communication broke down, that both sides probably had valid points. It never actually reaches the word sorry. It is an apology-shaped defense, and you have gotten very good at writing them because you have had a lot of practice. The next section is the one you will swear does not apply to you, which is exactly why it does. Pride is the addiction that hides from you because it convinces you that you are the one who sees clearly. Everyone else is reactive, emotional, biased. You are the reasonable one. You are the one who has done the work, read the books, prayed the prayers, and that certainty, that settled confidence in your own perception, is the very thing that makes genuine transformation impossible. You cannot be rescued from a pit you keep insisting is the high ground. The King of Glory let them nail his hands shut. He went into the ground, not because he had to, but because the posture of descent was the only way to carry humanity out of the grave. Pride keeps you above it all. Humility is the only position from which you can actually be raised. Sloth is not laziness. That is the disguise it wears. Underneath, it is fear. Another hour has gone to the scroll. The calling you said you would answer is still sitting there, untouched. The thing you know you were made to do is still waiting. And you are still waiting for the feeling, the clarity, the right moment, the version of yourself that finally feels ready. And the scroll continues. And the day ends. And tomorrow becomes the word you use to avoid today. This is not the lazy person you criticize. This is you choosing the numb over the assignment again tonight. Because avoidance is comfortable in a way that progress never is. Progress requires you to try, and trying requires you to risk being wrong, being rejected, being insufficient. The scroll asks nothing of you. The calling asks everything. And so you choose the thing that costs nothing and wonder why your life feels like it is going nowhere. You are not resting. You are burying the very thing God put in your hands while you wait for a tomorrow you keep deleting. The stone was rolled away on a morning no one earned. A man walked out of death and started giving assignments. Go, tell, feed, heal. He did not wait for his disciples to feel ready. He called them while they were still doubting, still grieving, still locked in a room. The resurrection is a summons. It is not a suggestion. 7 sins, 7 mechanisms. 7 ways the enemy does his most effective work. Not in the dramatic collapses, not in the visible wreckage, but in the quiet, repeated, private moments when you reach for the thing again and call it nothing. Lust was never holding you. It was always holding you. Greed was never protecting you. It was always imprisoning you. Anger was never empowering you. It was always consuming you. Gluttony was never comforting you. It was always hollowing you. Envy was never motivating you. It was always accusing you. Pride was never clarifying you. It was always blinding you. Sloth was never resting you. It was always burying you. If this content is reaching something real in you, subscribe not to support a channel, but to be part of a community of people who are done with shallow faith and ready for the kind of truth that actually changes something. What's the one on this list that you've been calling by a different name? Drop it in the comments. You're not the only one. Every one of these promised to be the thing you controlled. Every single one lied. And the only force in the history of existence strong enough to pry open a closed fist, to walk into a locked room, to roll away a stone that was meant to be permanent, is the same force available to you right now. In the dark, in the private moment, in the 2 o'clock hour when you are reaching for it again. The tomb did not stay closed. Neither does the story you are in the middle of. That person in the dark, face lit by a screen, reaching for the thing that has been slowly reshaping them, that person is not too far in. The same resurrection that split history in two is the only thing that was ever going to be enough, and it still is.